We want to turn to NBC News royal commentator Daisy McAndrew, who joins us from Buckingham Palace. Daisy, good morning to you. I'm going to throw up these headlines that have been splashed across the UK this morning. Nobody does it like the UK tabs. How is this Harry interview landing there? What's getting the attention?
Well, hello, Savannah, and I have to say, Hoda really did, as you Americans say, knock it out of the park with that interview. As far as the British newspapers are concerned, it's pretty much on the front page of all of the newspapers, but particularly the tabloids. And you know that the tabloids and Harry and the tabloids have not had a happy relationship, and they were pretty damning. I was just looking at them a minute ago, calling him the Duke of Woke, the Duke of Delusion, saying that it was his dithering over whether or not he's coming to the Jubilee. And one of the more serious newspapers calling it a snub towards Prince Charles. So a lot of the reaction from the newspapers very negative. I think the reaction from the public not quite as negative, though.
Well, let's talk about some of the substance of the interview. I think that the comments that seem to have gotten the most attention are where Harry says that it was good to see the Queen, but he says he just wants to make sure that she's got the right people around her and is protected. And that did not sit well with the British press. Do you have any sense of how it's sitting with the royal family?
Well, the sort of mood music that's coming out is, in fact, one of the phrases that was used to me was quiet consternation, typical British understatement, if you like. But I think they were pretty hurt by some of his comments, and more what he didn't say than what he did say. So, for instance, when Hoda said, you know, or implied to have you caught up with your father and brother, or do you miss them? He just ignored that question. So the assumption being that no, he probably doesn't miss them. He concentrated his remarks on the Queen. And then, Savannah, that remark you picked up on, the Prince Harry saying he wanted to make sure that his grandmother was surrounded by the right people and being protected. Well, of course, the unsaid criticism there is that she's surrounded by the wrong people and that she's not being protected. So not being protected by Charles and William, not being protected by the courtiers and the firm from Buckingham Palace behind me, or even not being properly looked after by her own medical staff. Of course, any of those implications would be an insult, and I think has been taken as such.
And finally, the Queen's Jubilee. Today's the actual birthday, but when you're a queen, you get to 2 birthdays. So the Jubilee is later in the summer, early June. Harry left open the possibility that he might come. How do you see that playing out? Was that a surprise?
I think that's the one positive element that certainly the royal family will be reading into that perhaps they will make the effort to bring the children, who, of course, Lilibet hasn't even met her namesake, the Queen, yet. And as you said, it is the Queen's 96th birthday, and she's taken the decision to remove herself from Windsor and go to Wood Farm, which is a small, for royal standards, 5-bedroom red brick house that Prince Philip pretty much spent his retirement from 2017 in. And we're told that she really wants to have a quiet birthday remembering Prince Philip, and that perhaps she'll have a tea party this weekend to celebrate her birthday. I would imagine that might be with William and Kate, because their country house is only a couple of miles away on the Sandringham estate. And we saw that lovely picture of her with those 2 fell ponies. And I think we're led to believe that it's one of the real draws why she wants to be in Sandringham, particularly when perhaps she's feeling contemplative or sad, because it is her dogs and particularly her horses that we know she turns to in those times.
All right. Well, she sounds like she's going to her happy place. Daisy McAndrew, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.